everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Riekje. I'm the 20 stitcher here on Flosstube and on Instagram, and this is a channel about cross stitch. Today is going to be a little different than usual because it's going to be WIP Parade. I've got a bit of pink eye and swollen eyes, so don't pay attention to that please. So I made a list of projects I ever started and the ones I finished or actually still working on. I didn't include the UFOs. So I also had to check whether or not I took pictures of my finishes, because like I said in a previous video, I gifted most of them. So all the ones I'm talking about are still work in progress, or I took a picture of the finished project. So the first one was a bookmark of a yellow lab. It was a Vervaco kit and it was the very first thing I ever stitched. It was on 14 count Aida, stitched 2/1, full cross, and had a few back stitches. You can see in the picture, I'll put one in somewhere, that I didn't really pay attention to the direction my crosses went, but it was my very first cross stitch, so I don't really mind. I gave it to my mum. She still uses it till this day and she doesn't really mind either. So I stitched it September 2014 to October 2014, and that's my very first cross stitch. That means I started stitching in September 2014. The second project was also a Vervaco kit. It was sort of a birth sampler I made for my niece. I started that in October 2014, right after I finished the dog. I'll pop in a picture because of course I gifted it. And I finished it in June 2015. As you can see, it's way more colourful. The yellow lab had just a few yellows and some greys, and this one had quite a few colours. Well, I think 25 or something. I really liked stitching it. As you can see, the stitches are lying way neater than it was. It has a few mistakes, but that's okay. It's still hanging in a room, so I really like that. The third one I started, also a Vervaco kit, was, where is it? Sleeping dog in a bookcase, a yellow lab. I really like dogs. I've got a black lab myself and I love them, but they didn't have patterns of black labs, so it's a yellow one. I love it. I don't know why I still haven't finished it, but it was my first piece on black Aida, and well, this is the entire piece, and this is wire mat. Let's put it like that behind it. I just did a few books, a bit of the shelf, and I really want to finish it. It's an easy pattern. I don't know why I haven't finished it yet, but I just saw many new lovely starts. So I'll try to finish this one. Really like it, and I don't think it will be that much work, so we'll see when I can finish it. Lost the cover page. Oh, there it is. The next one was a little stitch. It was not really a gift, but we have, or had, it just stopped, but a non-profit organization called Regenboogkussens. It's like rainbow pillows. You could ask the organization for a pillow and then tell someone about the friend it is for. It was especially for people in need, having a tough period in their life. You could ask them to make a pillow for your friend, a personalized one. So they would ask 5 stitches to create a little block of stitching, and it had to be something that person would really love. So in this case it was a Mickey Mouse, a little one. That person really loved Disney, and I stitched that one, and 4 other women stitched also one block, and another one quilted a pillowcase for it. So they would gift the pillowcase and someone could get a pillow for it. It was a really tiny stitch. It took me about a week in December of 2014, and it was the first time working with blended threads. So I didn't know that was a possibility back then, but I really loved how that looked in the ears. It really gave it a little depth. So then the next one, also a gift for a close friend, was a Betty Boop. She really likes Betty Boop. She has bags, an entire room with his posters and things like that. I stitched that in January of 2015. It took me about a month, and this also had a first because I stitch with metallic thread. The makeup on her eyes is with metallics. I don't like it. I didn't like it and I still don't like it. But it looks great, nice and sparkly. So I gifted it to her. It's still hanging on her wall. She really likes it. So I'm happy about that. Next one was a present for my brother for his birthday. I stitched a little one-up from Nintendo, the green one, and it should have been the red one because it was for his birthday, but he got an extra year, an extra life. So I stitched it in 3 days, the end of May 2015, and I framed it and I gifted it to him the other day, the next day, and he really liked it. So the next one was for my colleague, also gifted that one, was my first birth sampler. Well, no, the one for my niece was my first, but this one was for my colleague, the first one for one of my colleagues. It was a Miffy pattern. I'll pop in a picture, of course. And it was a Pako kit, I believe. And it took me 4 months to stitch it. I started in January of 2016 when I found out she was pregnant, and finished it in April. It took a while because I have to wait for her name, and after that I could stitch her name and gift it to her. She's also into crocheting, knitting, so she knows how much time and effort it is to actually make a birth sampler. So she really loved it, and I was happy about that. We had several colleagues expecting a baby at that point, so I made 2 more birth samplers for 2 colleagues that also like knitting, crocheting, cross-stitching themselves, so they know that it's not just a gift, that you really put some time in it, effort. Yes. So that was, I don't know if you can translate it in English. It was on Woezel Pip. She was getting a little boy, having a little boy, so it's a blue cloud. I worked on that one from April 1st, 2016 till November 2016. And then I gifted it. And the other one got a little girl, but I didn't want to stitch this one again, so I did a variation. This one is Woezel Pip with balloons, and with pink balloons this time because it was a little girl. This one took a little longer. I started it November 7th, 2016 and finished it June 2017. Then, the first one that's actually hanging at my house is Noah's Ark. Also a Vervaco kit. The other 3, the Woezel Pip and the Miffy, were Pako kits. Then Noah's Ark was another Vervaco kit, also 14 count Aida. And I started this Christmas 2017, just after my children were born. And I finished January 2019. So it took me a little over a year. I really enjoyed the stitching. The boat was quite a bit of stitching, but I loved every stitch. And now it's hanging in my son's room. So it was nice to finally make something for, well, not me, but my son. So that kind of feels for me. The next one was for my daughter, a Minnie Mouse. I started that in June of 2018, finished it in October 2018, and this is hanging in my little girl's room. This was a pattern I found on Etsy. I don't know the seller anymore. I'll try to find it and link it down below. This was the first time I didn't use a kit. So I kitted up myself. It was only 5 or 6 colors, but still, I kitted up myself. Next one was, I believe, the same seller on Etsy. I got a Chippendale stained glass. It's also hanging at my house. And I started that in November of 2018 and finished it in December of 2020. I don't really like how it's framed, but never mind. It's hanging in the hallway, so it's fine. I like it, children like it. Next one, oh, we're getting into WIPs now, is a Dimensions Petite, and it's coffee shop. I bought this at our needle point cross stitch fair in the Netherlands, the Handwerkbeurs, and it's stitched on 18 count Aida, but it's not a really big piece of Aida, so you don't have so much border, so you barely can put it into a ring or something. But I like how it's stitched. It's my first Dimensions kit I'm still working on. It has half stitches and full cross, and with 1 thread or 2 threads or 4 threads, well, you know, dimensions. But I really love it. And this is how far I've gotten. Love the colours. I'd like to finish this for Christmas this year. Don't know if I can, but I'll try. The next one was Lamb. This one you saw recently. It's a restart. I started it last time in January of 2020. And still a WIP. Let's see if I can get this into... No, I'll just show you like this. So this is how far I've got. I've been working on the star last. I would like to get quite a few stitches on this year, because this is my 22 in 22 for full coverage fanatics. I've only did 3,000 this year, I think, so quite a bit of work yet left. Oh, I forgot to show the artwork. It's a custom chart made by Michelle of Heaven and Earth Designs. I'm stitching this for my mum. Again, a gift. The next one is Holding Hands, also Dimensions kit. I bought this at the Handwerkbeurs, but 1 year later. It's a beautiful piece. It's a kit as well. I'm using the kit floss, but I'm not using the fabric. It was a 14 count Aida, and I didn't really love it. It was very stiff, and I had this lying around, 32 count even weave. And this is how far I've got so far. I'll be working on this week as well, so hopefully get a bit of progress. Oh, I started this in February of 2020. Then I started another one you've seen before, QS Literal Dragon. I started in March of 2020. Still haven't finished it. So it's still a WIP. You've seen this one before. Working on this regularly now. Love it. It's stitched on 18 count Aida 2/1 full cross. And oh right, this one is as a dimension 1/2, 2/2, just like the pattern says. The next one I started was also March of 2020, but I finished that one. It was the QS Frog Prince 3. I'll pop in a picture, and it's hanging at my house as well. So I started it at the same time as the QS Literal Dragon, but I finished that one already. It called for Kryneck, but it wasn't available at that time. It was in the middle of a pandemic, so I couldn't order it online. It was out of stock. So I substituted the Kryneck with B5200, and I love it as well. So that's one hanging at my house. The next one is the fire truck. I also started in March of I'm really bad at showing cover pictures. I started this in March 2020 as well. It's also for my son. He loves fire trucks. It's a Vervaco kit. This is the kit that made me fall in love with cross stitch. And this is how far I've got. Not as far as I'd like, but I should be able to finish this soon. So many patterns to work on. Next one is also sort of a booth sampler, and I was going to stitch this as a gift, but my children really love it, so we're keeping it. I just have a tiny start of it. It's a Vervaco kit, and where is it? Just a tiny start on the lion. Such bright colors. These charts don't have that many colors, usually just 25 to 30, but they're so bright. I really like them. Then, oops, need more space. Next one is also a Vervaco kit. I bought most of these kits really before I found sites as Heaven and Earth Designs or Charting Creations, things like that. This was the first chart I bought on linen. It actually was an accident. I wanted to stitch on Aida because I never had stitched on anything else but I just didn't want to start because I didn't know how I could stitch on linen. It's, I don't know the count, I think 32. It's really see-through. It's a tiny start. Let's fold this differently. I do like it, I just have to get back to it. I started it one night, I really wanted something else, and well, haven't touched it since. So sad. It's a beautiful pattern. Then next one. Now we're getting more recent. The Yoshi. I started it in August of 21. And whoops, wrong side. This is how far I've got. You can really start to see the picture. Loving it. Nice and easy stitch. I take this everywhere with me. Next one is the little Stitch Devil. You've seen this before as well. It's on 25 count. Oh, threads. 25 count even weave. This is the first piece I started on even weave, and I like it a lot. 1/1. It's number 1 from a series. I'm planning on stitching all 6 of them and make it into a quilt or something. I don't know yet. Next one is Quiet Reflection. I started this in July 2022. Oh, the Stitch Devil I started in June 2022. And this is my start on Quiet Reflection. I'm really bad at showing cover pictures today. This is the little Stitch Devil. That's gonna look when it's finished. And now we're at Quiet Reflection. Artwork by Lisa Parker, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And this is how far I've got. Just one color right now. A lot of blue. But I like stitching on it. Next one I started in August of 22. Cute as Hansel and Gretel. Artwork by Scott Gustafson and charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. It's a really small piece. Well, the dimensions mentioned on the cover page aren't the real dimensions. So I messed up cutting my fabric the first time because it says 175 by 110, but it's 175 by 175. And this is where I'm at, working in the roof. So, also on 25 count, 1/1. And then the last one is Cue as Sleepy Time. I started it this week. I have a tiny start. Artwork by Ciro Machetti, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I love the vibrant colors. And let's see what's up. This is where I've started. This is my tiny start. Let's just fold it a bit. That's it. 81 stitches. I'll be working on this today as well. Then those are all my WIPs and finishes, what I have pictures of. And well, it wouldn't be me if I didn't think about new starts already. But this time I really want a finish before that, because the two ones I really want to start are big patterns. One is 700 by 535 and the other one is 525 by 753. So the first one I really want to start is an Amy Stewart. You've probably seen it before, stitched by someone else. Artwork by Amy Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I love this piece. I want to start it. This is why I started stitching on 25 count. I wanted to try this out because it's so big. I can't do that on 18 count. I don't stitch in hand. I use a hoop or a frame. I prefer a frame for the really large pieces. And if I would try this on 18 count, it wouldn't fit on any frame you could buy. And another one I really would like to start is The Astrologer. Artwork by Lisa Parker, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. So, but I just really need some finishes before that. Then maybe for Christmas I have the by Little House Needleworks, the Farmhouse Christmas. I bought this also at the, sorry about the glare, the Handwerkbeurs. It's a series of 9 little patterns. So I have all 9. You can stitch them apart like ornaments, like they show, but you could also stitch them in one big block. And I would really like to do that. So maybe I'd start this in December, stitching 1 month, so I'd finish before December 23. I don't know yet. I also saw those Hello Pumpkin Tree and Hello Sunshine, those series from Caterpillar Cross Stitch that I really would like to start. So we'll see. Well, that's my WIP Parade for now. There'll be a regular update next week. So see you then. Happy stitching. Bye.